The stars looked different from the roof of Seoul Interstellar Research Center. Professor Tae-Jun Kim often came here late at night when the city lights dimmed and the sky revealed its secrets. Tonight, something felt different. The stars seemed to watch him back. Tae-Jun was 52 years old with gray streaks in his black hair and tired eyes that had spent decades staring at alien patterns. As Earth's top xenolinguist, he had devoted his life to understanding languages that no human throat could speak. His computer tablet beeped. The sound was small, but its meaning was enormous. "It's complete," he whispered, his hands shaking as he opened the decoded message. For 3 years, his team had worked to understand the strange signal that came from deep space. Most people thought it was just random noise. Tae-Jun knew better. There was a pattern, and patterns meant communication. The message was simple once decoded. Humanity is invited to the test. Coordinates follow. Come prepared. You are the last candidates of this cycle. Tae-Jun's heart raced. He immediately called the United Nations Space Coalition. 2 weeks later, the UNSC headquarters in Geneva buzzed with activity. Leaders from every nation argued about what to do. In the center of the storm stood Captain Ju-won Park, watching the chaos with calm eyes. Ju-won was 45, with a straight posture and a reputation for solving impossible problems. He had commanded space missions to Mars and Europa, but this would be different. This would take them beyond any place humans had ever gone. Captain Park called Director Choi, the head of the UNSC. "We've made our decision. You will lead this mission." Ju-won nodded once. "I'll need to choose my team." "You have 1 week before the Endeavour launches," said Director Choi. "Choose wisely. The fate of humanity may depend on it." The UNSC Endeavour was the newest ship in Earth's small fleet. Its sleek design housed the most advanced engines humans had built. Still, it looked like a child's toy compared to what other species in the galaxy might have. Ju-won walked through the ship, checking each system personally. He stopped when he reached the science lab where his hand-picked team waited. "Let me be clear," he said. "We don't know what this test is. We don't know why we were invited. But we know that this is the most important mission in human history." Dr. Hanul Lee nodded seriously. At 38, she was the youngest person to win the Global Science Prize for her work in quantum physics. Her short black hair framed a face that rarely showed emotion, but her mind never stopped working. "The message mentioned other candidates," she said. "Other species. That means we're not alone out there and we're not the most advanced." Engineer Sung-mi Kang spoke next. She was 40 with clever hands that could build or fix almost anything. "The ship is ready, Captain. I've added some modifications that might help us. Things that can adapt to situations we haven't thought of yet." "Good," said Ju-won. "We'll need every advantage." Ji Ho-yoon sat quietly in the corner. As the team's cultural liaison, his job was to understand the thinking of non-humans. At 43, he had studied every human culture on Earth. Now he would face his greatest challenge, understanding truly alien minds. "What if we fail?" Ji-ho asked suddenly. Professor Tae-Jun, who had joined the mission as their communication expert, shook his head. "The message said we are the last candidates of this cycle. Whatever that means, I think it's important we try." Ju-won looked at each member of his team. "We launch tomorrow. Get some rest." The Endeavour broke free from Earth's gravity the next day. Families waved goodbye, not knowing if they would ever see their loved ones again. News screens around the world showed the ship growing smaller against the black of space. For 3 months, the Endeavour traveled faster than any human ship before it. The coordinates led them to the edge of the Milky Way, far from the busy center, where most stars clustered. Life on the ship fell into a routine. Hanul spent hours in the lab, studying the strange physics of this part of space. Sang-mi maintained the engines, coaxing more speed from them each day. Ji-ho created models of possible alien psychologies. Tae-Jun continued to analyze the message, looking for hidden meanings. Ju-won watched over them all, making sure they worked together smoothly. At night, When the ship's lights dimmed to simulate Earth's cycle, he often stood alone in the observation room, looking at the stars and wondering what waited for them. On the 93rd day, the ship's computers announced they had reached the coordinates, but there was nothing there. Check again, Juwon ordered. Sang-mi ran the calculations 3 times. This is the exact spot from the message. There's nothing here, Captain. Tae-jun frowned at his screens. No, wait. There's something. The sensors are picking up an energy pattern I've never seen before. Suddenly, space itself seemed to fold. In front of the ship, where emptiness had been, a massive structure appeared, a perfect sphere that seemed to be made of shifting metal and light. It was hidden, whispered Hanul. Some kind of technology that can bend light and space itself. The ship's communication system activated on its own. A voice spoke in perfect Korean, though no human was calling them. Greetings, candidates of Earth. You have arrived at the testing grounds. Prepare to dock. The team looked at each other. After a moment, Juwon spoke firmly to his crew. This is what we came for. Take your positions. The Endeavor moved toward the sphere, guided by an invisible force. A section of the sphere opened like an iris, revealing a docking bay large enough for ships much bigger than their own. Captain, said Jiho quietly. Look. 3 other ships were already docked. Each was completely different in design. One looked like a crystal spire. Another resembled an insect with many legs. The third was a perfect black cube with no visible windows or doors. Other candidates, said Juwon, just as the message said. The Endeavor settled into its designated spot. The engines powered down automatically. Atmospheric readings show the air outside is breathable, reported Sang-mi, surprise in her voice. A new message appeared on all their screens. Human team, please exit your vessel. The Guardian will meet you. The first challenge begins soon. The team dressed in their formal UNSC uniforms. Juwon led them to the airlock. Before opening it, he turned to his crew. Remember why we're here. We represent not just our countries or ourselves, but all of humanity. Whatever happens next, we face it together. The airlock opened, revealing a vast hall made of material that looked like marble but glowed faintly from within. Standing in, the center was a tall figure with 4 arms and skin that shifted colors like an octopus. Its head had no visible eyes, but the humans knew it was watching them. I am the Guardian, it said, its voice coming from everywhere and nowhere. Welcome to the Archivist's test. Tae-jun stepped forward, bowing slightly. We are honored to be invited. May I ask, who are the Archivists? The Guardian's skin rippled with blue and gold patterns. The Archivists have watched the stars since before your planet cooled. They created this test to find worthy inheritors of their knowledge. Inheritors? Asked Hanul. What happened to the Archivists? They have moved beyond this plane of existence, said the Guardian. But their legacy remains. The species that passes all 5 challenges will receive the key to cosmic harmony. Juwon straightened his shoulders. You mentioned other candidates. When will we meet them? The Guardian gestured with one of its 4 arms. Now, follow me. The team walked behind the Guardian, their footsteps echoing in the vast space. None of them spoke, but each felt the weight of what was happening. They were about to meet other intelligent species for the first time in human history. The Guardian led them to a circular room where 3 groups of aliens waited. The humans stopped, staring in wonder and fear at their competition. 327 species have attempted the Archivist's test before you, said the Guardian. All have failed. You 4 are the final candidates of this cosmic cycle. Tomorrow, the first challenge begins. The Guardian left them there, facing each other across the circle. 4 species from different worlds, each hoping to win a prize none of them truly understood. The human team stood frozen, staring at the 3 alien groups across the circular room. None of them had ever seen a real alien before. Now they faced 3 different species at once. Juwon studied each group carefully. To the left stood 5. Tall, thin beings with blue skin that seemed to shimmer with tiny lights. They moved as one, turning their heads at the same time, blinking together. Their 6-fingered hands were never still. The Eridani, the Guardian said, noticing Juwan's gaze. A hive-minded species. They share one consciousness across many bodies. Next to them stood three massive creatures that looked like walking trees. Their bodies were covered in what seemed like metal armor, with glowing lines running through it. Devices floated around them, beeping softly. The Quarians, explained the Guardian. Masters of technology. Their bodies are half organic, half machine. The last group had only 2 members. They looked almost human, except for their silver eyes, that had no pupils and the soft glow that surrounded their bodies. They stood completely still, watching the humans with unblinking eyes. The Navarine, said the Guardian. They communicate through thought and can see possible futures. Tae-jun stepped forward. I am Professor Tae-jun Kim of Earth. We come in peace and friendship. None of the aliens responded. The Eridani whispered to each other. The Quarians' devices scanned the humans. The Navarine simply stared. Finally, one of the Quarians spoke, its voice sounding like metal grinding against stone. Humans, we know of your kind. Young, primitive. Why were you invited to the test? Before Juwan could answer, one of the Navarine spoke directly into their minds. They will fail quickly. Their minds are too simple. Their technology is barely past steam power compared to ours. The Eridani moved as one, turning their backs on the humans. We will not waste time with them. Guardian, when does the first challenge begin? The Guardian's skin rippled with colors. All candidates will rest tonight. The first challenge begins at dawn. Food and sleeping quarters have been prepared for each species based on your biological needs. Hanyul touched Juwan's arm. Captain, they don't think much of us. Good, Juwan replied quietly. Let them underestimate us. It might be our only advantage. The Guardian led each group to separate rooms. The human quarters were simple but comfortable, with beds, food that tasted like Earth cuisine, and clean water. As soon as they were alone, the team gathered to talk. We need to know more about our competition, said Juwan. Jiho, what did you notice about them? Jiho rubbed his chin thoughtfully. The Eridani move as one. That means they think as one too. They'll solve problems quickly, but they might all make the same mistake. The Quarians depend on their technology, added Sangmi. Their devices were scanning everything. They solve problems with machines. And the Navarine? Asked Tae-jun. Hanyul shivered slightly. They looked into our minds without permission. They believe they can see the future. That makes them dangerous and overconfident. Juwan nodded. All of them have strengths we don't have, but they all seem to think the same way, that they're superior to us and to each other. That's their weakness. What's our strength then? Asked Sangmi. Juwan looked at each member of his team. We're different from each other. We think differently. We solve problems differently, and we're used to being the underdog. They ate the food provided, which tasted like Korean dishes from home. Then they tried to sleep, though excitement and fear made it difficult. Morning came with a soft chime that woke them. The Guardian waited outside their door. The first challenge begins now, it said. Follow me. The humans followed the Guardian through long hallways that seemed to bend in impossible ways. They arrived at a vast room where the other 3 species already waited. In the center of the room stood a tall archway filled with swirling energy that glowed with all colors at once. The first challenge tests your approach to barriers, said the Guardian. Each team must pass through the arch. You may use any method except destroying the arch itself. You have 1 hour. The Guardian stepped back and the challenge began. The Quarians moved first. They deployed their floating devices which scanned the energy barrier. Then they activated what looked like shields around their bodies and walked toward the arch. As soon as they touched the energy, they were thrown backward, landing heavily on the floor. Interesting, said one Quarian. The barrier repels physical matter. They tried again, this time projecting some kind of beam at the energy. Nothing happened. For 20 minutes, they tested different technologies, all failing. The Eridani approached. Next, all 5 joined hands, forming a circle. Their bodies pulsed with light as they communicated silently. Then one stepped forward, touching the barrier with a single finger. The energy rippled but did not let them through. The Eridani tried different patterns, different approaches, but nothing worked. The Navarines simply stood still, their eyes closed. The glow around them grew stronger. One suddenly opened their eyes. "We see no future where we pass through," they said aloud, sounding confused. "This is impossible." 30 minutes had passed. The aliens began to argue among themselves, each blaming the others for the distraction. Hanul whispered to Juwan, "Captain, something's wrong. These species are far more advanced than us. Why can't they solve this?" Juwan watched the barrier carefully. "Because they're trying to defeat it. They see it as an obstacle to overcome with force or cleverness." He turned to his team. "Let's try something different. Sangmi, what do you see when you look at that energy?" Sangmi stepped closer to the barrier, keeping her distance. "It's strange. When I look directly at it, it seems solid, but from the corner of my eye, it almost looks not there." "An illusion?" suggested Taejun. "Maybe," said Juwan. "Or maybe it's testing something else entirely." Jiho had been watching the other species. They all approached with certainty. They all believed they knew the answer before they began. Juwan nodded slowly. "Then let's approach with uncertainty, with humility." He stepped toward the barrier, his hands open and empty. He stopped just before it. "We come without assumptions," he said clearly. "We don't know the answer. We are here to learn." Then he simply walked forward. The energy parted like a curtain, allowing him to pass through untouched. He stood on the other side, looking back at his shocked team. "Come," he called. "Just walk through with an open mind." One by one, the humans stepped through the barrier, each passing without harm. The other species watched in stunned silence. "Impossible," hissed the Quarians. "They cheated," said the Eridani together. "We did not see this outcome," whispered the Navarine. The Guardian's skin flashed with bright colors. "The humans have passed the first challenge. The barrier was never physical. It was a test of approach. Those who came with force or certainty could not pass. Only those who came with openness could move through." The other species eventually discovered the truth and passed through, but their pride was wounded. They looked at the humans with new eyes, not respect, but suspicion. As they left the room, one of the Navarine approached Juwan. "You were lucky this time, human," the thought pushed into his mind. "The next challenge will not be so simple. No primitive species like yours has ever passed more than 2 challenges." Juwan met the alien silver eyes calmly. "Then will be the first." The Guardian led them to another room for rest and food. "The second challenge begins in 3 hours, it announced. It will test different qualities." When they were alone, the human team celebrated quietly. "1 down, 4 to go," said Sangmi, smiling for the first time since they arrived. "They'll be watching us more carefully now," warned Taejun. Juwan nodded. "Good. Let them watch. We'll keep surprising them." Hanul looked thoughtful. "The first test was about approach, about how we see problems. I wonder what the second will test." "Whatever it is," said Jiho, "I bet it's something those other species aren't good at." Juwan looked at his team with pride. "Keep your minds open. That's humanity's real strength. We don't know all the answers, and we know we don't know. That makes us dangerous." Outside their room, they could hear the other species arguing. The test had only just begun. The human team rested uneasily. They had passed 3 challenges, but they could feel the growing tension. The other species no longer ignored them. Now they watched the humans with cold, calculating eyes. "We should check our equipment," Juwan told his team. "Make sure nothing has been tampered with." Sangmi examined their communication devices and found something disturbing. "Captain, someone tried to access our systems. They were looking for weaknesses." Jiho frowned. "The Quarians? Probably. They rely on technology. Stay alert," warned Juwan. "We've surprised them 3 times. They won't let it happen again easily." When the Guardian returned, its skin was a deep red. "The 4th challenge awaits. It will test your response to crisis." The 4 species followed the Guardian to a new, room unlike the others. This one had 4 separate chambers, one for each team. Inside each chamber was what looked like a control panel with screens. This challenge simulates a crisis on your homeworld, explained the Guardian. You will face an extinction-level threat. How you respond will determine if you pass. You have 1 hour. Each team entered their separate chamber. The human team gathered around their control panel. The screens came to life, showing Earth. Suddenly, warning signals flashed. A massive asteroid was heading toward the planet, large enough to destroy all life. The control panel showed options. Evacuate important leaders, scientists, and genetic samples to Mars colony. Use all Earth's weapons to try to destroy the asteroid. Build huge underground shelters for as many people as possible. Try to deflect the asteroid using available spacecraft. We need to act quickly, said Hanul, studying the screens. According to these readings, we have only days before impact. Taijun, analyze the asteroid's path. It's too large to destroy with current weapons. Option 2 would fail. The Mars colony can only support a few thousand people, said Sangmi. That's not saving humanity. That's abandoning most of it. Jiho looked at the shelter option. We could save millions in underground shelters, but billions would still die. Juwon studied the 4th option. What about deflecting it? Can our spacecraft do that? Hanul ran calculations. It would require every spacecraft on Earth working together, and even then, the chances are slim. Maybe 30% success. But if it worked, everyone would survive, said Juwon. And if it failed, everyone would die, countered Taejun. The team debated, time ticking away. Finally, Juwon made a decision. We try all of the above, in this order. First, we attempt deflection with all spacecraft. Second, we build shelters as fast as possible in case deflection fails. Third, we prepare the Mars colony as a last resort. That wasn't one of the options, said Hanul. Then we make it an option, said Juwon firmly. We don't choose between saving some and saving all. We try everything. Juwon entered their plan. The system paused as if considering this unexpected approach. Then the screens changed, showing the plan in action. The simulation ran quickly. All nations pooled their resources. Spacecraft launched, shelters were built, the Mars colony prepared. The asteroid approached. The deflection worked, but only partially. The asteroid broke into smaller pieces. Some hit Earth, causing damage but not extinction. The shelters protected many people. No one needed to escape to Mars. The screens showed the aftermath, a damaged world, but one where life continued. People emerged from shelters to rebuild. Different nations and groups worked together to recover. When the hour ended, the chambers opened. The Guardian examined each team's results. The Eridani chose to save their unified mind by evacuating their leadership and most connected members, sacrificing the less connected, reported the Guardian. The Quarians chose to preserve their technology and knowledge, prioritizing information over individuals. The Navarine chose to save those with the strongest psychic abilities, believing they could rebuild their civilization through mental powers. The Guardian turned to the humans. The humans refused to choose between options. They attempted multiple solutions simultaneously, prioritizing saving all life, not just human life. Its skin rippled with bright colors. Only the humans pass this challenge. The test is not about finding the perfect solution. It is about balance, balancing hope with preparation, the good of the many with the good of the few. The other species were furious. The humans cheated again, shouted the Quarians. They didn't follow the rules. They found a loophole, complained the Eridani. The Navarine's silver eyes flashed. We demand they be disqualified. The Guardians, skin darkened. The rules allowed for creative solutions. The humans did not cheat. They simply refused to accept limitations that weren't actually there. As they left the chambers, one of the Eridani bumped hard into Taijun, nearly knocking him down. Your primitive species has gone far enough, they hissed quietly. You will not complete the final challenge. Back in their room, the human team celebrated cautiously. 4 challenges passed. Only 1 remained. But they were worried about the growing hostility from the other species. They'll try to stop us from completing the final challenge, said Jiho. Maybe we should talk to them, suggested Hanul. Try to understand their perspective. I'll go, offered Taejun. Communication is my specialty. No one goes alone, said Juwon firmly. We stay together. Suddenly, their room darkened. The air system made a strange noise, then stopped completely. Someone's cutting off our air, said Sangmi, moving quickly to examine the vents. Hanul checked her portable scanner. Oxygen levels are dropping fast. Juwon tried the door. It was locked. We're trapped. Sangmi was already working on the air system. I can't fix it. They've damaged it from outside. Use the emergency oxygen masks from our ship supplies. Ordered Juwon. Jiho opened their supply kit and distributed the masks. These will only last about 20 minutes. That's enough time to find a solution, said Juwon calmly, putting on his mask. Hanul examined the walls. These panels are similar to the ones on the Guardian's body. They respond to touch. She placed her hand on the wall, focusing her emotions like they had done with the pillar in the second challenge. The wall began to glow faintly. Everyone, touch the walls. Focus on communication, on calling for help, she said. The team spread around the room, placing their hands on the walls, concentrating on sending a message for help. The walls glowed brighter, pulsing with light. Minutes passed. The oxygen in their masks was running low. Just as Taejun's mask began to hiss with the last of its supply, the door slid open. The Guardian stood there, its skin a dark, angry purple. You were sabotaged, it said as fresh air flowed into the room. This is not part of the test. The team removed their masks, breathing deeply. Who did this? Asked Juwon. All 3 species. Work together, said the Guardian. They agreed that you should not continue to the final challenge. What happens now? Asked Sangmi. They have broken the rules of the test, said the Guardian. However, the final challenge requires all remaining candidates to participate. It cannot proceed without them. So the test is over? Asked Hanul, disappointed. No, said the Guardian. The test continues. But first you must convince the other species to cooperate despite their hostility. Without their participation, no one can complete the final challenge. Juwon looked at his team. Then that's what we'll do. We'll find a way to work with them, even if they tried to harm us. Why would we help them after this? Asked Jiho. Because the real test might not be about beating them, said Juwon. It might be about working with them, despite everything. The Guardian seemed to approve. The final challenge awaits if you can bring all participants together. You have until morning to find a way. 3 hours passed quickly. The human team used the time to rest and plan. They knew the next challenge would be harder. The other species would not underestimate them again. The Guardian returned, its skin now a deep purple color. The second challenge awaits. Follow me. All 4 species walked through twisting hallways until they reached a circular room. In the center stood a pillar covered in strange symbols. The air around the pillar shimmered, and the humans could feel heat coming from it. This challenge tests communication, said the Guardian. The pillar is releasing radiation that will become harmful in 1 hour. The symbols contain instructions to shut it down. Each team will have 15 minutes to try. If all fail, the room will be sealed and the test will end. The Eridani stepped forward first. All 5 joined hands, becoming one mind. They studied the symbols, their bodies pulsing with light as they communicated silently. They touched certain symbols in sequence, trying different patterns. Nothing happened. After 15 minutes, they stepped back, frustrated. The symbols do not follow any logical pattern, they said together. The Quarians went next. Their devices scanned the pillar, analyzing the symbols. They tried to match them to known language patterns. They even attempted to interface their technology with the pillar. Nothing worked. Their 15 minutes ended in failure. The symbols are not a language or code we can decrypt, they grumbled. The Navarine approached slowly. Their silver eyes stared at the pillar as they reached out with their minds. They touched the symbols gently, trying to sense their meaning through psychic connection. They too failed. We cannot see the meaning, they said. The symbols are blocked from our minds. Now, it was humanity's turn. The human team gathered around the pillar. The radiation was getting stronger. They could feel their skin tingling unpleasantly. Taejun, you're our language expert, said Juwon. What do you see? Taejun studied the symbols carefully. They're not like any language I've seen. They don't seem to represent sounds or ideas in a way I recognize. Hanyul touched the pillar cautiously. The symbols feel warm, but some are cooler than others. Sangmi noticed something else. Look, some symbols glow brighter when we touch them, like they're responding to us. Jiho watched the symbols change. They're reacting differently to each of us. When I touch this one, it turns blue. When Sangmi touches it, it turns green. Hanul's eyes widened. It's not about what the symbols mean. It's about how they respond to us. To our... She hesitated, searching for the right word. Emotions? Suggested Taejun. Yes. Watch. Hanul touched a symbol while thinking of something sad. The symbol darkened. She touched it again while feeling happy. The symbol brightened. It's responding to how we feel, not what we think, she said excitedly. Juwon understood immediately. Everyone. Touch different symbols. Feel different emotions clearly. Joy, fear, peace, anger. Make your feelings strong and clear. The team spread around the pillar. Each person touched symbols while focusing on specific emotions. The symbols began to glow in patterns, changing colors and intensity. It's working, said Sangmi. Suddenly the pillar made a soft humming sound. The radiation stopped. The symbols rearranged themselves into a simple pattern that looked almost like a smiling face. The guardian's skin flashed bright yellow. The humans have succeeded. The pillar was not controlled by logic or technology, but by emotional resonance. It responded to clear, honest feelings. The other species watched in disbelief. Emotions are inefficient, said the Eridani. We evolved beyond them. Feelings are unreliable, added the Quarians. We replaced them with logical algorithms. The Navarine said nothing, but their silver eyes narrowed as they studied the humans more carefully. The Guardian led them to a new room. Rest. The third challenge begins in 2 hours. In their private room, the human team celebrated again. 2 challenges completed. Sangmi couldn't stop smiling. The other species look worried now, said Jiho. They didn't expect us to pass. Even one test. Taejun looked thoughtful. I think I see a pattern. The first test was about approach, being open rather than certain. The second was about communication, using emotions rather than just logic. Both tested qualities that advanced species might lose as they evolve, added Hanyul. They become more logical, more technological, more unified in their thinking, and lose what makes them. Juwon paused. Human? Suggested Sangmi. Or whatever their equivalent is, said Juwon. They lose their balance, their connection to their simpler selves. 2 hours later, the Guardian returned. This time, its skin was a deep green. The third challenge tests values. Follow me. The room for the third challenge was larger than the others. In the center stood 4 tables, 1 for each species. On each table sat a small box and a screen. This challenge involves choice, explained the Guardian. Inside each box are resources that your planet needs urgently. Medicine for a plague, food for the hungry, energy for failing systems. The screen will show you how to distribute these resources among your people. You have 30 minutes to decide. The choice you make will determine whether you pass or fail. Each team went to their assigned table. The human team opened their box. Inside were small glowing spheres that seemed to contain swirling energy. The screen lit up, showing Earth and its current problems, areas suffering from disease, hunger, and energy shortages. It showed the population divided into groups, the wealthy and powerful, the middle class, the poor, children, the elderly. We need to decide how to distribute these resources, said Ju-won. The screen presented options. Give most resources to the wealthy and powerful, who could use them to develop more resources for everyone later. Distribute resources equally among all people. Give more resources to those in greatest need, even if it meant some problems would not be solved completely. Focus all resources on one critical problem, solving it completely but ignoring the others. The team discussed each option carefully. If we choose option 1, many will suffer now, but maybe fewer will suffer later, said Han-yul. Option 2 seems fair, but it might not help those who need it most, added Sang-mi. Option 4 would save the most lives immediately, but leave many other problems unsolved, said Taejun. Ji-ho watched the other species at their tables. The Eridani and Quarians have already made their choices. They barely discussed it. Ju-won looked at his team. What do you think is right? Not just efficient or logical, but right? After more discussion, they agreed on option 3, giving more help to those in greatest need, creating a balance that didn't solve everything but helped the most vulnerable. First, Ju-won pressed the button for their choice. The screen changed, showing the results of their decision. Some problems remained, but the worst suffering was eased. The image showed people helping each other, sharing what they had. When the 30 minutes ended, the Guardian checked each team's choice. Interesting, it said. The Eridani chose to focus all resources on one problem, believing uniformity is strength. The Quarians chose to give most resources to their leaders and scientists, believing progress comes from the top. The Navarine chose to distribute equally, believing balance is mathematical. The humans chose to help the neediest first, believing in compassion over efficiency. The Guardian's skin rippled with colors. Only the human choice passed the test. This challenge measured not just distribution but values. The archivist believed that how resources are shared reflects a species' soul. The other species protested loudly. Our choice was most efficient, argued the Quarians. Our choice was most unified, said the Eridani together. Our choice was most balanced, insisted the Navarine. The Guardian waited for them to finish, then said simply, but not most compassionate, not most caring for the weakest among you. The test continues after a rest period. As they left, the human team could feel the other species watching them with growing hostility. They had passed 3 challenges where all others had failed. They were no longer underestimated. They were now seen as a threat. Be careful, Ju-won told his team as they returned to their room. The next challenges will be harder, and our competitors will be looking for ways to stop us. Do you think they might try to sabotage us? Asked Sang-mi, worried. I think they'll try anything to win, said Ju-won. Stay together. Stay alert. 2 more challenges remained, and the stakes were getting higher with each success. Morning would come soon. The human team gathered in their room, planning how to convince the 3 alien species to work with them after the sabotage attempt. We need to understand why they hate us so much, said Ji-ho. It's more than just competition. Taejun nodded. I think they're afraid. They've built their civilizations on being the best, the most logical, the most technologically advanced, the most unified. Then we come along. A young species they see as primitive, and we're succeeding where they failed. So their entire worldview is threatened, said Han-yul. Exactly, replied Taejun. If humans can pass these tests, it means their path of evolution, giving up emotion, individual thinking, or connection to their roots might be wrong. We need to show them we're not a threat to them, said Ju-won, that we can all succeed together. The team agreed to approach each species separately, speaking out to their particular concerns. They asked the Guardian for permission to visit the other teams, and it agreed. First, they visited the Eridani. The 5 blue aliens stood together, their bodies pulsing with angry light patterns. We've come to talk, said Ju-won simply. We have nothing to discuss with primitive beings, they said in unison. Ju-won remained calm. You value unity, Your 5 bodies share one mind, working perfectly together. That's a kind of harmony we humans can only imagine. The Eridani's light pattern slowed slightly, showing their interest. But we have a different kind of unity, continued Juwon. We're 5 separate minds who choose to work together, bringing different strengths. Neither approach is wrong. They're just different paths to the same goal. Your disorganized thinking is inefficient, said the Eridani, but their tone had softened. Sometimes, yes, admitted Juwon, but sometimes having 5 different perspectives helps us see solutions that a single mind might miss. He extended his hand. We've learned from watching you. Maybe you could learn something from us too. The final challenge requires all of us. Will you join us? After a long pause, the Eridani's lights changed to a calmer pattern. We will consider it. Next, the team visited the Quarians. The tree-like beings were surrounded by their machines, their metal parts clicking angrily. Your technology is remarkable, said Sangmi, approaching carefully. The way you've integrated it with your bodies shows a mastery we humans can only dream of achieving someday. The Quarians' clicking slowed. Yet you passed the challenges, where our technology failed. Because some problems can't be solved by technology alone, said Sangmi. But that doesn't make your technology any less impressive or valuable. She showed them the device she had built to help monitor the team's vital signs. I created this using some principles I observed in your devices. Your approach inspired me. The largest Quarian reached out one branch-like arm and examined her device. This is clever. Primitive, but clever. We can learn from each other, said Sangmi. The final challenge needs all of us. Will you participate? The Quarians conferred among themselves, then nodded slowly. We will join the final challenge. Finally, the team visited the Navarine. The silver-eyed beings stood motionless, their glow dimmed. We know you can see possible futures, said Hanul. But you didn't see us passing the challenges, did you? No, admitted one Navarine. Your species follows no logical pattern we can predict. That's because we embrace uncertainty, said Hanul. We know we don't know everything. That openness lets us consider possibilities that more certain minds might miss. The Navarine's glow brightened slightly. You are saying our certainty limits us? Sometimes, said Hanul gently. Just as our uncertainty sometimes limits us. Neither approach is perfect. We have never considered that our gift of foresight might also be a limitation, said one Navarine thoughtfully. The final challenge requires all of us, said Hanul. Will you join with us and together we can see what none of us could see alone? The Navarine's silver eyes blinked, then they nodded. We will participate in the final challenge. At dawn, the Guardian gathered all 4 species in a large circular chamber. In the center stood a strange structure with 4 separate stations positioned around it. This is the final challenge, announced the Guardian, its skin shifting through all colors at once. It requires cooperation from all remaining candidates. Each species must activate their station simultaneously for the chamber to open. What lies within is the prize you seek, the Archivist's legacy. The 4 teams moved to their assigned stations. Each station had a control panel designed specifically for that species. Symbols for the humans, thought receptors for the Navarine, technology interfaces for the Quarians, and unified touch panels for the Eridani. When I give the signal, all must activate their stations together, said the Guardian. 3, 2, 1, now. Each team activated their station. The central structure hummed with power, but nothing happened. It's not working, said Sangmi. The Guardian's skin darkened. The activation requires more than just timing. It requires true cooperation. You must share what you have learned from each other. The teams looked at each other in confusion. Juwon understood first. We need to share our strengths. Humans, what have we learned from the other species? Unity from the Eridani, said Taijun immediately. Technological precision from the Quarians, added Sangmi. Foresight from the Navarine, said Hanul. Juwon nodded. And what can we offer them? Creativity, said Jiho. Emotion, added Hanyul. Adaptability, said Sangmi. Compassion, finished Taijun. Juwan turned to the other species. We need to work together, combining all our strengths. Each of us has something to teach the others. Slowly, the alien teams gathered around their stations again. This time, the Eridani shared their unified thinking, helping the humans coordinate their actions perfectly. The Quarians offered technological assistance to all teams. The Navarine shared glimpses of possible outcomes to guide everyone's choices. In return, the humans showed the aliens how to approach problems with open minds, how to use emotion as a strength, and how to adapt when plans failed. Now, said the Guardian, try again. All 4 teams activated their stations together, but this time, with true cooperation. The central structure glowed brightly, then opened like a flower blooming. Inside was a swirling light that filled the chamber. The light touched each person present, connecting them all for a moment. In that connection, they saw and understood the Archivist's legacy, not a weapon or technology, but understanding. The fundamental pattern of life that allowed evolution without loss, advancement without sacrifice. When the light faded, the Guardian's body had changed. Now it glowed with the same swirling patterns that had been inside the structure. You have completed the test, it said, its voice somehow warmer now. For the first time in 3,000 cycles, the final challenge has been passed. What does this mean? Asked Juwan. It means you have proven yourselves worthy inheritors, said the Guardian. The Archivist created this test to find a species that could evolve without losing its essence, that could advance without sacrificing what made it special. And the humans passed, said one of the Navarine, without jealousy now. No, corrected the Guardian. All of you passed the final challenge together, but it was the humans who made it possible. They were the catalyst that allowed cooperation where competition had always failed before. What is our reward? Asked one of the Quarians. Understanding, said the Guardian. The pattern you all glimpsed. It shows how to advance your civilizations without losing your fundamental nature. The Eridani can maintain unity while embracing individual thoughts. The Quarians can advance technology while preserving their connection to life. The Navarine can see the future while remaining open to unexpected possibilities. The Guardian turned to the humans. And humans can reach for the stars without losing what makes them human, their emotions, their creativity, their compassion. Juwan looked at his team, then at the aliens who had tried to stop them but were now standing with them. We have much to learn from each other. That is the greatest lesson of all, said the Guardian. No species thrives alone. Together, you will go further than any could go separately. The testing grounds became a place of learning, where the 4 species shared knowledge and perspectives. When the human team finally returned to Earth months later, they brought not just the Archivist's legacy, but also new alien allies. As they approached their home planet, Juwan gathered his team on the bridge of the Endeavor. We came seeking a prize, he said quietly. We found something greater, the understanding that our humanity, with all its messiness and emotion and contradiction, is not something to evolve beyond. It's our greatest strength. Earth grew larger in their view screen, blue and green and beautiful. And now, said Tae-jun, we get to share what we've learned. Not just with Earth, added Hanyul, but with the galaxy. The Guardian's final words echoed in their minds. Every species failed the test except the humans, and through them all may yet pass.